Today, it was supposed to be graduation day from first grade for this 7-year-old boy in Louisville. Dequante Hobbs shot by a stray bullet while eating cake at his kitchen table in the Russell neighborhood. Imagine the questions from his classmates, and it goes beyond, of course, his death. It's all the violence we're seeing around us, the ripple impact of those homicides and more, even violence inside a home, impacting children in ways we're really still trying to figure out. And joining me now to talk about the violence and how it is impacting our children, we have Courtney Potts with Centerstone. Thank you so much. And Joe Barjone from Jefferson County Public Schools. Thank you both so much for joining us. First of all, when we see this violence, how do you even quantify it on how it impacts children?
Well, I think, all of us experience trauma in our lives, and every one of us handle it differently. So when you're talking about children and the ability to handle trauma, how that plays effect into their learning, their cognitive ability, how much exposure that they've had over any extended amount of time, whether it's one event or whether it's multiple events over an extended period of time, how that plays a role in their education, their ability to learn, their ability to focus in the classroom. So I think in order to quantify that, it all depends on the type of trauma that they're experiencing and the length of time that they've been exposed to it.
But it can have a definite impact on IQ, learning ability, all of these things, which I wasn't really sure that it all fit in, but you all have said it does. Let's talk about this one particular case. I know you can't comment on the little boy in particular, but the fact that I thought those kids in his class will have questions if they can't feel safe in their own home, that has to play a role.
It does. It does, excuse me. And what we try and do in the district is we provide a crisis team for schools to support children. And one of the things what we try and do with the students is to identify those resources, all those folks that can help them deal with these kinds of events and answer any questions that they may have. Because with very young children, death, it's for children under the age of 5, they think it's kind of temporary. They don't know it's lasting. It's like cartoon. It. Between 5 and 9, they start to conceptualize that it could be permanent. And then when they're over the age of 9, it could happen to anyone.
Let's talk about warning signs, because I think if I'm a parent at home, I want to know what are some warning signs I should look out with my children. And again, this could be domestic violence in the home, anything like that. What are the warning signs that I'm looking for?
Well, I think some really important signs to look for as a parent and or a teacher are psychosomatic complaints such as stomach aches, headaches, a disruption in their sleep, their sleeping pattern, their disruption or eating patterns have changed. Startle reflexes have increased, heightened sense of startle reflex. Unreasonable fears, an increase in anger and rage that is normally not typical for that child. Those would be some things that would stick out for a parent and or a teacher to really pay attention to that may not be normal for their child or their student.
And let's talk about this. We wanted to end this interview on resiliency, the fact that children can come back from these kinds of things. And there are some things that can impact that. Give us at least a couple.
Sure. Resiliency is really the #1 protective factor. That's how we bounce back. And the #1 resilience is having at least one positive adult in that child's life. Now, many times that's going to be a parent or an aunt or an uncle, but in families where the family doesn't have that capacity to have an adult in the home to play that role, then it's going to be a community person. It could be a teacher, it could be a coach, or it could be a minister. It's having that relationship with at least one positive adult who gives them hope and who's caring and shows genuineness and empathy towards that child. That's the kind of thing what we want all children to have, because having that resiliency, they're able to bounce back from those negative events.
And like we said, never underestimate what a role model can do, or a mentor, as we said. Thank you all so much. You really gave us good food for thought, but let's not underestimate what our children are seeing in our community and in their own homes. Thank you all so much. If you have any questions, the main number for Centerstone is 502-589-1100. You see it on the bottom of your screen.